There we go. Morning, everybody. Welcome to Red Mornings. I think it's our third episode. How's things going, Carl?
Good. I just got my drink ready. I just found the shoes I was looking for yesterday and today, so kind of happy with that. You wouldn't believe how hard it is when you're kind of average size to find shit, because every guy has the same size as you.
Well, I believe that. In Canada, we're not all tall and lean like you, so I'm pretty much the average here. Although, I am going to fight you on this. So I know everybody wants, we're having a fight now. You guys can let us know in the chat between Caesars and Bloody Marys what you want the official drink of Red Mornings to be.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bloody Mary just because Clamato juice is impossible to get for the large part of our audience outside fucking Canada.
Is that why you guys don't, like, they don't have it in the States at all?
Oh, the States have it, but I was thinking Europe.
Damn. I figured that'd be the exact kind of thing Europe would do where they drink clams. It seems so French.
Well, to be fair, what you could do is you could just add oyster sauce to your tomato juice and probably be roughly the same flavor.
Probably. Yeah, I can see American. But I was going to say, there's no way they don't have that in the States. She just came back. My wife was just down in Miami, and she came back with carrot cake flavored Oreos. I'm like, or jalapeno flavored M&Ms. Like, what in the fuck is this?
Yeah, the States even have dick flavor lube. For the girls who want extra dick flavor.
He's been in Europe 2 days, turns into hardcore Eurofag. I love it. All right. I guess we might as well start chatting about what we wanted to chat about here. First thing I was going to go on is those Tinder dates.
Oh, yeah, the screenshots, yeah. I shared those with you, and it was just... the kind of thing was a lot of girls have been starting to add, comments in their profiles like no one-night stands or swipe left if you're only here for sex. It's basically a way for them to kind of get the social proof that I'm actually here looking for a serious relationship. I'm not just here to get loud. And the problem with it is you kind of have to you can't do real direct game with them. And I was trying to find an opener. And I came across this girl who had only that as her bio text. And I was drinking that night, so I was, okay, I'm going to do this just to see what the fuck will happen. And I'll pull the screenshots up here in a second. Let me see. Where's the screen share button?
By the way, I'm really looking forward to this. Now that people are finally getting the idea of what Savage Carl is like, it's starting to become pretty popular.
Okay, are you seeing my photo viewer there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the opener. I just sent her here that I'm not just after sex. I also wanted to laugh at my jokes and feed me. Because when the girl put like swipe left if you're just here for sex, I had to say something. It's not just the sex. I also want food. So, and we went into this a little bit. So I had the whole conversation. I'm going on a date with this girl in a couple of days, by the way. The reason why there's a blackout the reason why there's a blackout in the middle of the chat there is because she actually used my real name in her message.
Sorry, I keep muting so I don't accidentally make a noise and cut off from the screen there. That would be hilarious. I can picture a bunch of sleuths right now trying to do the lightness and contrast thing to see if they can click it out, not realizing how Paint works on Microsoft.
Yeah, and then here we have the end of the conversation where we just go into logistics. So what it kind of goes to show is just that you can get across if you use humor as a bridge there. You don't have to I could have done something like let's see, how do I turn off the screen share? I could have done something like a Anthony Johnson opener there, but I think that would have scared the cat away.
I find that his kind of stuff works way better in the States. For some reason, American girls respond better to that bluntness. Even in Canada, you kind of got to be a little more nuanced with it.
Plus,
although I don't know, you have more experience laying in Europe than me.
Well, Europe is the same thing as Canada. You kind of have to be a little bit more subtle with it. Like in America, is probably the only place where "hi, wanna fuck" would work.
Maybe Montreal, but only if you have that hardcore Campagnon accent.
Maybe French people can work.
Hey, as-tu couché, esti? Tabarnak.
Hmm.
How sexy does that sound?
Yeah.
But, be careful, though. I wanted to say on this one too before you carried on. So I did because I know asking women to cook is like a huge thing that always gets them pissed off in that. So I like using that in my game. So that was how I ended up sleeping with my girl for the first time. So just be careful out there. You don't end up with one for 10 years.
Oh, what was the opener?
It wasn't even that. It was just I've never seen a woman make so much as a sandwich in my life. Like they're useless. And then she goes, "Oh, I can cook." I'm like, "All right, let's see." And so we were at a martini bar at the time, and we just walk out to go to the grocery store, and I'm paying the bill, and I hear her say something in the background. I'm like, "What, sex?" And then the waitress interrupts, goes, "Smooth." Went to go get groceries, and then came back to my place. She made was it chili quillas or chili rellenos? I can roll my R's now. Chili rellenos, and then spilled some things on her dress, did some laundry, and naturally had to wash her clothes. So there you go.
That works.
I call it.
I was just going to comment because Rule Zero Dad, amazing tweets from that guy, by the way. And once in a while, he has some real savage shit.
Yeah, he's one of the married red pill guys. He's fucking awesome, man. I can't say enough good things about him. Oh, hey, there he is. The dream opener.
Yeah. Yeah, he said it works. I don't know. The thing with it is I got a couple of lays off it as well. But what I kind of noticed with it, it's very hit and miss. And in my case, at least, it was more. I talked to Ryan about the shirt before the show, and he assured me it comes with a Filipino boyfriend.
You can cross that one off your notes. Really, really insulted that you make fun of Magnum PI like this, by the way.
Yeah, you're not really a Magnum PI guy. You're more like a Higgins.
Walked right into that one. Or you can cross that one off of your checklist too. Thanks, Pimp Juice. You're the greatest. How do you ban people from channels? Oh, but you were saying about the opener in Poland.
Yeah, I actually got laid a couple of times in Europe off the dream opener. Mm-hmm. But the main issue with it that I found was that, okay, if you send it to 100 girls, maybe you get like 10 to 20 responses, and about 2/3 of those are negative.
Right.
So you kind of burn the bridge real early. It's better to I found that when you have time to have a little bit more lead time on the girls, so you can kind of go back and forth and banter a bit over a couple of days. Number one, your flake rate goes way down. And number two, your response rate goes up a bit overall because you end up not missing out on so many girls because they found your opener to be overly crass, because you're aiming for a girl who's both down to fuck and has a specific type of humor and actually gets that it's a joke.
I could see that. Especially, I can see that being especially important if you're in because I know Florida is a rather big place, but like where I was doing game was only about 100,000 people. So if you did that opener, you would run out of numbers pretty soon. Like you couldn't last longer than a year.
Well, like an area with, let's say I tend to think that you shouldn't be in a place with less than 300,000-400,000 people. And ideally you want a college or two there because then you have the constant influx of new girls.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. Would have been nice. They don't make a Navy anywhere inside the coast, so whatever.
Yeah, and also to Defender's point, Anthony does get reported quite a lot for his opener, and you don't want to get banned off Tinder. It's not that hard to create a new account, but if you're running the gold version like I do, then you lose out on your subscription. You're going to have to set up a new Google Play account, etc. And I have a couple hundred burner accounts, so it's not that it's that hard, but it just takes time and effort.
Speaking of which, have you seen that guy who also had 100 burner accounts? He would just he built that program that kept swiping 20 different phones to the right. I wish I could remember what the hell the point of it was too. I think he was just trying to get rejected as much as possible. The fact that he was programming a Raspberry Pi with Tinder probably helped, though.
No, what he wanted to do was, I think, get as many matches as possible. So he had it set up to just auto-swipe everything, and then to send an opener to all the girls. And of course that doesn't work because you end up killing yourself with Tinder's algorithm.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because we have a red pill Tinder guide, which actually goes over that, where the guy, was it every 4 months, he nukes his account, creates a new one, so he gets that initial boost. And then he's very selective with his swipes, because as you said, if you swipe too much, it drops you down.
Not swipe too much, but if you swipe too much, if you have gold and you can do unlimited swipes, yeah, that will sync your account real quick. But then it's also if you have if you right swipe everyone, because that makes Tinder think, oh, he's not very discerning, he's just desperate. So what you have to do there, what you have to do there is, I'm between 50 to 70% right swipes roughly. Sometimes I hit 40 if I'm unlucky, because for some strange reason, and I'm not sure why this is, my Tinder is either you're talking really hot girls, like 6, 7 and up, or you're talking, total land beasts with 8 kids by 19 different products.
Just screenshot that and post it on that subreddit, Where Have All the Good Men Gone?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about why that is, because usually the way Tinder's algorithm is supposed to work, it kind of rates you internally. Like Tinder thinks you're a 7. So you see mostly girls who Tinder thinks is between like 6 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
How do you think it does that, by the way? Do you think it just picks whoever swipes you, and then it kind of uses who swipes you based on your value, or do they have some kind of weird facial algorithm?
No, it's an ELO score. What it does is, if a girl is rated, if Tinder thinks a girl is a 10, and she right swipes you, your score goes up. And if Tinder thinks you're a 7 and you swipe right on a 3, your score goes down. That's how it works in aggregate. So it's a clever score. It's the same way they rate chess players.
Gotcha. If you beat a better chess player, your score goes up, but if you lose to a worse player, your score goes down.
Yeah, and you gain more points if a real hot girl swipes right on you than if an ugly girl. So it's easier to go up, I think, than down, because you don't lose that much points if a lot of uggos right swipe you. But they lose points because Tinder's like, well, why are you right swiping a guy who's obviously this much hotter than you?
Fuck, they're turning it into more of a zero-sum game than it is in the real world. Jesus.
Well, it works, and it's a good way to get people in there. But yeah, ref good men. There's the girl who was talking about knowing multiple virgins over the age of 30, and I'm not going to say a lot on that topic, but let's just say if a woman is a virgin by when she's 30, there's obviously something fucking wrong with her.
Well, that's the thing now. Yeah, you're right, because I remember the idea that you're going to marry your virgin girl, that was cool back when by 17 you were working in a factory. You can get married at 18 and have your own place by 19, but when you have to wait till 25, 26, finish a degree, you can find one there. At that point, if she's a virgin, it's because she wants to be, or it's because well, like you said, she's damaged.
Well, I just think there's something, like, if she doesn't have issues with sex, she's going to be hyper-religious, or she's going to be mental of some degree, or schizoid, or there's something wrong with her that makes her a less than ideal prospect. I would rather have, a 23-year-old with 5 previous boyfriends than have a 30-year-old who's never been in a relationship or never slept with anyone.
Oh, God, yeah. Even thinking through, like, imagine this. You think she's going to be automatically good at sex? She's going to be one of those girls from the farm who the last dick she saw was off a cow. Like, she's not going to know what to do with it. You're going to have to train her, and she's going to have all these hookups. Like you said, it's like there is no angle where it ends up being a good idea. At least I can't think of one.
Well, I have no problem with training girls, but it's a benefit if they know a little bit about it, so they have the basics down. Same thing with hiring a new employee. You don't want to hire someone who has no clue what you're doing. What you want to hire someone with enough competence that you don't have to kind of go through and handhold them through all the basics, but not so much experience that they're completely unteachable.
No, I agree. And you need that anyway. If a guy already knows the entire job when you walk in, he's going to get bored of it fairly quickly. He's going to be looking for something different. So it's kind of in your best interest to have a little bit of training. But you're right, yeah, just a little bit. So I'm trying to go through the chats here. Oh, here we go. Fuad wants to know, how do I pick up lesbian chicks? Be a girl. That'll help. Second, aim for lugs. Don't end up for pure lesbians.
There's no such thing as real lesbians.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not even going to quibble over that one right now, even though I'm sure you're right. But I don't know. I've only slept with a lesbian once, and I didn't know she was a lesbian at the time. And I'm pretty sure it was some kind of weird scavenger hunt, and I was one of the items on the list. So I wish I could give you some kind of like, oh, it was easy. I just did this, but all I did was the same thing I did to normal girls. And then one of the girls from the group gave her the nod. So.
Yeah, so Arm Trucker, can you please elaborate a little bit? Because you say after 120 matches, 90 conversations, 40 dates, and 20 second dates, 10, 120. So you basically got 10 ways in 120 matches. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's 5 to 10%.
Yeah, that's usually what I was doing with day game. Because you want to look at, like, if you score 100 numbers, you get like maybe half of them don't pick up, and then you get like half of that again, maybe out on a date, and out of those, about half flake, and out of about half of the girls you bring on a date, you end up sleeping with. But it gets real streaky. So, like, you get hot streaks and you get cold streaks in game all the time. So that's usually a good thing. I tweeted about that yesterday. That it's whenever I start, feeling a bit guilty about my womanizing.
Yeah.
I'll hit like a cold streak where I get like a couple of flakes and a couple of real horrible dates, and I'm like, fuck these bitches.
Every time you want out, they bring you back in. All right, I take it back out. I don't think you're going to end up with a girl who can make a sandwich and then a 10-year relationship coming out of it. So, a red button, a menu, dick. I don't understand that one. Sorry, AZD. By the way, have you seen Rule? I'm gonna mention you in the chat here because it was just such an awesome story. He has one on Reddit. If you guys haven't seen it, it's fucking awesome. Where he brings up, he's probably had one of the harder red pill lives I've ever heard of. But it was because there was a rash of guys coming in whining about, woe is me, my wife did this, I don't know how to do that. And then he kind of brought his story in. And it's some shit. I don't even want to say it on chat, so I'll wait till he gets me okay for it. But he essentially called them out on, like, your life's not that hard. Like, here's mine, and I'm not bitching about it. And it ties into one of the topics I really wanted to talk about here, even though I don't know if it's going to be more single or relationship game, but where guys aren't even the main character in their own story. Like, when we ask guys about field reports all the time, like, what have you done? What's good? Same approach you would do to talking about your Tinder dates, but talking about how they deal with their wives. Oh yeah, so he was adopted. His parents like left him on one of those Waco commune kind of things. So it's all fucked up. Anyways, that's the hit of the story. But yeah, the guys, when they describe the story, they're essentially giving a field report of the wife from the wife's perspective. It's the most fucked up thing. And I don't know if you've seen that from the single side. Obviously not you, but
I haven't seen that specifically. But then again, like, I read the Married Red Pill like twice. And I ended up having to go through a serious round of antidepressants and electroshock therapies. I never went back.
Oh, yeah, it's a codependent workshop. We're basically bringing guys, when they see too much beta, like, that's exactly what they're talking about, is those kind of guys.
Well, it's not just too much beta, it's all beta.
Well, fair enough. I guess that's the point. But yeah, it's weird because you'd see field report after field report of guys, and she did this, she did that, she did this, so I'm going to do this in return. Like, we used to joke around where guys would just give you a tally of how many she statements and how many I statements. And that was our version of getting ratioed. And I know psychologically there's something to it. It might be a combination of what you call death by 1,000 concessions. It might be some kind of mommy complex, but I've never quite understood it. Curious if you have thoughts.
No, but it's just a case of totally giving someone else the frame.
I mean, that goes without saying.
Being the supportive husband dialed to 1,000, so you're gone from being supportive to being an enabler. Like you're supportive of your girl's career, but you don't
Mhm.
sit there at home doing all her work.
I am feeding the dogs. Maybe I'm turning into that. God damn it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can't figure out if I can see single guys doing it where they pine over their one-itis, but they don't have that feedback loop, so I don't know if it lasts.
Well, the way it's kind of like with guys. Sometimes they will obsess with about designing the perfect first date for a girl, and
Oh yeah,
that's kind of a sign that they've already given up the frame, because I think that's how it begins. And
right from the start.
They're in a position where they're constantly trying to get in to see things from the girl's perspective because they're trying to win her approval. So they're always having to they don't think of what would I like to do. They try to get into her head and figure out what she wants to do. And the extent to which I do that is like the furthest concession I make on a first date with a girl is, I'll ask them if they prefer beer or wine. Just, don't want to take a girl who doesn't drink beer to a beer bar.
I can see that. Oh, was there a girl? Was it your chat that girl was talking about? What do you do when the girl doesn't drink?
Yeah, someone asked me about that.
Yeah, that one was weird.
Never happened.
I've never seen it either. The problem here is the other way. Usually, you end up having functioning alcoholics. Like
same.
Hardcore. I think it's the same as what you were saying about a virgin at 27. If you meet a girl that doesn't drink, there's usually something wrong with her.
Well, usually it's I can see it with religion. Like if you have a thing for Muslim girls, for instance, I can see that happening.
Hypothetically speaking, of course.
Well, that's the only either that or you're going to have chicks who are already had alcohol problems. And if you're like dating a girl who's already an alcoholic by 28, do you really want to get into that shit?
Dude, my buddy did. He ended up knocking her up too. Doubly bad. Fucking one of the saddest stories, man. She was French, alcoholic, and she was a mean drunk. I remember we fought once. She went down to my buddy's place. She brought their new kid. She was like, the kid was like 3 months old or something like that, and puts it in the kitchen. We're all having drinks, and I poke fun like I always do. And all of a sudden, she just lashes out at me and she charges at me. She puts me in like a single leg and takes me down. So I remember looking over and I'm holding her back, and I look over at my buddy, and I'm like, and he kind of gives that look like, she started it. Do what you got to do. So I put her into a triangle choke, and I get her to tap. I'm like, look, you're done, right? She goes, yeah, I'm done. So I get her out of the triangle choke. She reaches out and she bites me on the nipple so hard it left a mark for a week. And I remember this is probably the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I punched her in the face right in front of her like 3-month newborn baby, and I felt like so horrible from that. But that pain, it was just like instinct. As soon as she started biting down that hard.
Jesus.
I remember, I know, and at work, the guys were making so much fun of me the next day. I lifted my shirt up. I'm like, look what they did to me. And then he starts laughing. He goes, yeah, he hits me a bunch all the time too. She had it coming. I'm like, holy crap.
Jesus.
The point of the story is, if you meet a Montreal girl, just don't. It's not worth it. Everybody keeps saying how hot they are. I'm like, you don't know them, man. They hate condoms and they're angry drunks.
You probably don't shave either.
Oh, they do shave. They're not French.
They're not
the baby's name is Conor McGregor. I didn't fight the baby. Jeez, I'm not a monster.
Yeah, the story when Ryan punched a 3-month-old in the face.
Will Ferrell movie comes to life. This is my last channel on the last show on YouTube. Congratulations. All right.
Yeah, we finally found the final solution to how to get off the air.
Never thought I'd see the day where we make things a little lighter by switching over to the Germany 1940s jokes. So sorry, I'm chewing my last of my pickled bean here, but this is something, and I know we're gonna have some fights on Redman Group about it. They're talking about the Hot Babe 10 scale, HB 10, and I don't know if I have the same opinion as other people on here. So so for me, I don't think girls are. There's 4s, 5s, and 6s. Everything else is ego or amputation. Because I take that whole, you know how girls cluster around the mean and guys tend to be around the extremes when you put them on any bell curve, intelligence or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just treat that the same way with looks, and it's true. Yeah, 4 and 6. But I know a lot of people tell me they swear to God they just slept with a 9. So.
Well, my view on it is any girl who's down to fuck at the bar at 2 a.m. after 7 drinks is a 9.
Oh, yes, the opportunity 9s. Yeah, the girl that gives you attention. My scale was pretty straightforward. It was just 4 is the one you'd sleep with, but you won't brag about. 5 is the one that you will, but you won't brag about because that's what you're supposed to have. And then 6 is the cutest girl at the dinner party. And then anything else past then is external factors. Is it a movie star? So you get to brag, or do you get to brag your friends about it? Does she do some crazy BPD stuff? Like you said, is she actually interested in you? All that stuff can bump her past a 6.
Well, I just tend to say that I think along the same lines that, okay, maybe let's say the scale up to between 1 and maybe 6 or 7 is fairly objective. Like everyone can agree, is she attractive, is she not?
Yeah.
And then once you get up into the kind of especially the 8, 9s, and the 10s, a lot of that is going to be tiny details and different forms of preference. Like, I know we talked about it earlier, like some black guys will add a point or two to a girl's SMV just because she's white.
Mm-hmm. Sikh guys up in Canada too, same thing. But then, yeah, anybody else looks, they're like, that's an 8? All right, if you say so.
Yeah, it's same thing with, some guy who has a thing for girls with a specific hair color or big tits or smaller tits or whatever. Like I had a period where I think about 2 or 3 weeks where all the girls I slept with were like A and B cups.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I decided to go on a date with someone who I normally wouldn't go on a date with just because she had huge tits and I wanted to tit fuck. The only reason.
Oh yeah, there's that one. The one that you just have to see what it's like. That was my fake tit thing. That was the only time I've ever rooted through garbage. I wrote about that in my emails. She was a horrible woman. She's horrible in bed. She had anemia, so she only lasted about 30 seconds till she was doing the bacon dance. And I remember I got back together with her because she got her tits done. And I'm like, you know what? I just got to know. It's nothing that special. They just feel a little bit harder and a little firmer. And girls start treating them like purses now instead of actual like genitalia, which is strange. You ever just been out drinking like on a friendly level with a girl with fake boobs?
No, I don't think so.
It's the weirdest thing. And maybe it's because it could have been a Navy thing. So both the girls I know with fake tits were in the Navy as well, but they would just start showing them off like, dude, check out what I got. And then it just kind of, it turns them into property. I don't know how else to describe it. It was a very strange thing, but they're just completely desexualized then. I think it's because they put so much money into them.
Well, you know how it is. I mean, if you buy a high-end car, you want to take it out for a spin once in a while. You don't want it sitting in the garage all year.
Especially if you're smart enough to put the incisions for your car underneath your armpit as opposed to on the nipple.
Right. No, so I think it's just a matter of what preference do you have, and so with the rating scales, I just don't get into the whole, oh, why is that guy dating her? She's only a 4 or whatever. I think on the outliers, we can all kind of tell. Like you can tell if a girl is super hot,
Mm-hmm.
or if a girl is a complete train wreck.
Oh yeah, at least I hope so.
Like if the girl's a 350-pounder, it's like you can be like, oh, okay, fair enough. So everyone can tell at that point, and if the girl is like a supermodel or a Playboy model hot, everyone can tell. But even then, you're talking girls who are maybe like, if you see them, like I had a friend of mine, he dated a girl who was she was a cover model for various magazines.
Right.
And at one point, she had like the cover for one of her magazines on the coffee table in her house, and he kind of looked at the cover and he went, this is the girl I want to be fucking. Why do you never look like this when you're home?
Just tie into that. She's gonna get bulimic for a week off of that one.
No, but it's when you add in, professional makeup, professional hair, professional photographer, Photoshop, perfect lighting. Then you start to kind of create and I hate using the term, but an unrealistic standard of beauty. Because most of the girls you see on the street, very few of them are, you know, 9s and 10s. Most of them are somewhere on the continuum from 6 to 8s.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 100%. The other thing I like about day game too, because when night game you do it, there's always girls are always done up to the 9s. Day game you catch a girl in a more like that's what you're gonna see every day, day in and day out, at least more often.
Yeah, it's a good thing for day game because I mean some of the girls are just some of the girls when they go out, it's like they went to a professional studio before getting ready. But then again, I do the same thing because like I usually don't go out if I look like a complete train wreck. Like I always style my hair, always do the beard, always try to wear clean clothes and shit. Like, if I'm just running down to the store real quick, I'm not going to bother with, you know, making sure that my clothes are in order. I'll just throw on whatever sweatshirt is laying around and kick into whatever shoes are around and just go walk down there. So it's the reflection of the day-to-day life you kind of have to look into. And if you meet a girl right after she did a photo shoot for Maxim, of course she's going to look like a 10. But once that makeup washes off, she's back to, you know, maybe a 7.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
That's why I always advocate blowing your load on the girl's face the first time you sleep with them, because then they have to go into the bathroom and wash all their makeup off so you get to see what they really look like.
See, that's why I always grab the white sheet so the next morning I can remember what it was that I was into originally. Oh, that's what she looked like. Just ruin that Egyptian cotton. But it was fun. It's funny though you mentioned that because I remember, and I'm not normally a big fan of the red pill women in any form. Most of the time they tend to be bullshit. But there was one thing that I've heard that was really smart, and it's where guys would keep going into like the subreddit and keep giving women advice on what they found was hot, and the girls finally just shut it down, saying, "Look, stop it. You find whatever you get tends to be the hottest." And they brought up a great point. I never really thought about it till then. So if like the only girls you ever slept with in your teenage years were nerds, you probably have like a nerd fetish, and you find nerd girls to be like 8s and 9s versus average girls. If all you did was goth chicks tend to be hotter. And a theory I kind of got from it was a lot of what guys think are 8s, 9s, and 10s are actually what they got when they were younger. So they've just become accustomed to it, as opposed to it being arbitrarily or objectively better.
Well, it's also something with the performance level, because I tend to think that when women rape men, and this was really interesting, I read a book on it a while back. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll get the reference for it.
Mm-hmm.
Women tend to also be visual, but they're not as visual as men. So let's say we're 80% visual, 20% value added. And girls may be, 40 to 50% visual, the rest value added. So you're starting to look into because I've kind of kept tally of what girls have complimented me on. Like usually it's things like height, which you can't help, masculine body language, specific things like hair color, beard, etc. And so they are visual, but they're just not
100% visual.
So you want to kind of work out where you need to put your money into to work with. So the way I see it, a guy can always bring his looks up, dressing better, losing a few pounds of fat. I don't see that. Things like having a bit of I don't think the 6-pack abs thing is as important. I think girls always say they love 6-packs, but if you look at it, what they're really looking for is that V taper.
Mm-hmm.
Broader shoulders, narrower waist.
I'd say so. I found actually girls tend to respond better to like a nice strong back as opposed to the abs. Especially if you get those rhomboids that they can grip around.
Yeah.
But definitely them, not me daydreaming here.
Yeah, triceps.
Oh yeah, triceps too.
But I kind of noticed that with girls, because unless you're on the beach, you're not going to know if a guy has a 6-pack until you're at home and he takes his shirt off. But you can always see the broad shoulders, the broad back. And I think that's kind of what they're queuing off of, and they just kind of got that linkage in their mind. Every guy they've slept with who had a 6-pack also had a narrow waist and broad shoulders.
Oh, so they just assume.
So it's similar to the red pill women theory. So in that, guys tend to imprint on whatever they wanted when they were younger. or whatever they had when they were younger. But
Right.
I also think that there's a certain, like, I like pick and mix. I like to try out different things. So that's kind of what I do. But I see that a lot of the guys tend to fall into a type. Like you have the guy who only dates Asian women, the guy who only dates blondes, etc.
To be fair, he is in Japan, so it's not like he has much choosing.
No, but maybe that's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, Ryan. I mean, is he only dating Japanese women because he happens to be in Japan, or did he move to Japan because he's only into Japanese women?
Dude, I'm gonna ask him in here. I guess it's like an hour and a half. I'm gonna ask him. I actually am curious about that one. Yeah. But I do remember too when you talked about that study and the thing you read. I've read the same one or it was something similar, because their theory about it was because guys have dicks that get hard. We have a visual indicator about what stimulates us visually, and so it creates a harder connection there. But women don't have that same connection to their sexuality, so that way for them it tends to be more mental as opposed to purely visual. I don't know if I buy it, but it made sense, I guess.
Well, you can talk a girl into that. Poets have been doing that for centuries.
Yeah, but you pretty much have to. You can't just. Even my buddy who was a clearance diver, he had abs, and he would actually lift his shirt up randomly in public just to show them off. I mean, he didn't do any better than the guy who I was mentioning who knocked up the French girl, and he wasn't a very attractive man at all. He was just this big, tall rugby player-looking guy, scars across his head, but he had the gift of gab, and the both of them did just as well. At least until he knocked one up.
Yeah, well, if you have that, if you're able to talk and you're able to be funny, especially. I mean, I like Jeffrey Miller's theory that humor is actually a fitness signal. Because humor requires intelligence, and humor is really a waste of intelligence. So you're showing that you have so much intelligence, you can just fuck around.
Oh, fair enough. That's kind of an interesting theory. I was thinking about more like what you just talked about with the secondary signals, where if a guy with a nice set of forearms probably and a V-taper probably has abs, but a guy with a good sense of humor is also probably smart enough to make the fanciest cave for your cave babies, or whatever they cared about back then.
Well, I just think it all comes back to reproductive fitness signaling. And I think that's kind of the funny thing with the wall that we talked about last week is that the reproductive fitness signaling for women seems to be split in two, just like Rollo indicates. You know, you have the girls who, there are the things that they naturally want, that would be the old indicators, and then you have these social indicators now, like wealth, stability, status, that tend to kick more towards beta.
That makes sense. I wonder, I don't want to get into epigenetics, but it makes it sound like they might all be they're obviously all some core thing, like the fitness is there so that way you can survive and have a better chance of passing on offspring because the ones that didn't died off and the ones who did are still here. But I wonder if it's like there's an epigenetic thing where, you put somebody who was born in Thought Town, USA, and then move her into some Paleolithic tribe, if she would be so screwed up that she would never quite find it, or whether she would fit right back in with those fitness signals. Like who's the best at killing tigers? You know what? Let's ignore that. That's a really weird kind of way too high IQ of a question for me.
Well, that's an interesting question because what it comes down to is just like how much of the reproductive signals are socially and cultural. And I think some of them are. Like, having a fancy car is a signal for I have wealth.
Definitely in the States.
If you have wealth, then you probably also have an associated status to have that wealth. But I think looks-wise for guys, I think it's more about not fucking it up as opposed to being, in the prime. Because you see guys who are in their 60s banging, 20-year-old models all the time. And these guys look like where their entire body looks like eyeballs.
Yeah, that's true. I know in Russia especially.
And what it comes down to, I think, is that with guys, it's just about dialing in the things that you don't want to be over fat. You don't want to be over skinny. Ideally, you don't want to be too short, but there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, you don't want to be overly swole. Girls don't like a guy who looks like a puffball.
And you also don't want to. You also want to show. Think that taking care of your grooming is a signal that you're not fucked up. Because if you look like a slob, there's probably that could be an indication of depression, for instance, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you wear crappy clothes that do not fit well, girls will notice. And I had to talk about footwear on Twitter yesterday. And I was like, okay, it's kind of feminine to care about your footwear, but girls do. Girls look at shoes.
Yeah, it's funny to give a shit about your clothes, it's feminine, but to jerk off in your living room, it's masculine. Oh, fuck.
But for me, it just comes down to the whole thing with do what you can with what you've got and try to kind of stay within that range. Like you don't have to be exactly 180 pounds and 7% body fat. If you're between, let's say, 180 and 195 and between 10 and 15% body fat, and you dress well, your clothes fit properly, and it doesn't look like you were dressed by your mother or like you threw it together to attend the carnival, you're doing pretty okay. You just try to eliminate those disqualifiers.
Oh, 100% agree. The more I see guys, the more I realize, like the top 20%, if you want to hit that Pareto principle, it's not hard. It's not some DNA Chad that you have to compete against. It's people that just aren't trying. They're getting out of your way, and all you have to do is walk over there, and you can cross that threshold easily.
Yeah, so I'm being a top 20%. Like I pay attention to it when I'm out on the town all the time. Like, am I hotter than that guy? On the level of, am I better dressed, better hair, taller, leaner, etc. Just kind of scope the competition. And that's one of the things that guys kind of forget about is doing the recon. Like I walked home from work yesterday just because I wanted to recon bars and good places to take girls on dates. Because I don't like I said last time, I don't like taking two girls to the same bar in the same night.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was pretty funny reasoning though. Which is weird. I wouldn't mind, but I guess with you were having the girls kind of poking fun that were working there. For me, I would always try to find one that I knew, so that way they can kind of help me out on that one and get good tips, I guess.
No,
but then again, you're in the game more than I am now, so I should probably defer to you on this one.
Well, it's also based on how much game you run. Like if you're on 3 dates a week, it's no problem taking them to the same bar. I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken a new girl to the same bar 7 days in a row because I had a hot streak going at that bar. Like if I have a bar and I strike out there like 3 or 4 times, I never go back there on a first date ever.
Do you wear your special socks when it's playoff season?
No, but it's just something with the. If I strike out with a girl like once or twice at the same bar, I don't usually react to it. But if it happens like 3, 4, 5 times, I try to kind of break the streak by going somewhere else and see if that improves it.
So do you think it's something to do with like the ambience of the bar or the type of crowd, or do you think it's just a mental thing where you want to get into a space where you don't have that baggage already?
Well, it's the baggage thing, but it also has to do with the atmosphere of the bar. Like if the bar is really crowded, if it's really hot, if the air isn't good, so it's kind of like stuffy. It doesn't, or if the music is so loud, you can't actually have a decent conversation, or the people there. Like I took a girl to a hardcore sports pub at one point, and the atmosphere there just didn't work because it's very hard to run effective game on a girl when you have 30 guys watching the game behind you screaming.
Oh, the Shark Club was horrible for that. Hey, fuck, Donovan's in the chat. What's up, Donnie?
Hey, Donovan.
Look at that. Chime in with something. Just tuning in while I prep for Redman Group. Oh, look at you, fancy guy. Yeah, we were just, what were we even talking about? We kind of tend to just trail off and get whatever interests us at the time. We were on, killing those cold streaks.
Yeah, I got a good question. How often girls message me first? Well, it happens if I get a couple of 100 matches, 10 of those girls may open me. But usually when they open, it's a very good sign. Usually that means I'm going to sleep with them. But sometimes it's kind of weird because they open and you have a good conversation and then they flake or don't show up or whatever.
Just a validation thing, or they lost interest, or their other choice picked up? Any one of the above?
I had a funny one yesterday though, because I had a girl who's obviously into selling nudes on Snap. So she was trying to. So she matched with me on Tinder. We went into Snap, and we were going back and forth. And then last night, when I was kind of half in the bag, she started messaging me trying to sell me nudes.
Just tell her to pay her taxes.
No, I just told her it's kind of rude to try and sell a guy a product without giving any form of product sampling first.
Always straight down to business. I'm going to guess that trailed off, or did she actually take the bait?
No, she hasn't responded yet, so she's probably off charging some data for nudes.
I'll still never get, man.
Well, I was tempted to start sending her the nudes I have of other girls on my phone. Are you better than
structure your business like this? I can help you out for just send me some money by PayPal. That would be hilarious. Yeah, I'll run your taxes for you and everything. Girl ends up, I was just trying to get him for nudes, and then he ended up restructuring my business. Now I'm making $300,000 a year. It's awesome. How's that for pre-selection?
Hell, soon I'll be running a huge business with a ton of Snap girls selling nudes to betas, and I'll have to move to Eastern Europe and get a Lambo.
Gee, what a great hypothetical that definitely does not anybody we actually know. Oh, fuck, man. They're really interested in your Tinder game here. This one here. Do you go out by yourself for pickup? I'm assuming he means day game or night game, or like you're obviously going out with one other person when you're doing Tinder game.
Well, I do occasionally, but it's what would I do? It's like I do it if the mood strikes me. Like I see day game. I don't specifically go out like some of the London guys do and just hang out on a busy high street all day, just running game. But if I see a hot girl at the grocery store or wherever when I'm doing something, I'll usually hit on. Same thing with night game. If I'm just grabbing a beer on my way home from work and there's a cute girl there I want to talk to, I'll talk to her. But I don't go out specifically sarging like we used to do.
Yeah. Oh, so opportunist game then.
Because well, I just think it's kind of, if you can line stuff up with Tinder, why bother going out? And you can hit on girls while you're out or between dates. That's no problem to do. So that's just point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's because you're out for the results. I do suggest, I know for some of my guys that I'm consulting, I suggest it, but only because while they're working on their bodies, getting the fat fuck stuff off, getting rid of their t-shirts and their ripped up jeans, to have them go run some day game. Like, don't commit your life to it, but just so they can see the difference between being unattractive and attractive, to how the same approach and the same openers will have a dramatically different effect if you're just somewhat more attractive and dressed better. Like you were saying, the stuff that you can easily handle and get out of the way. But you are right, though. Once you have good game and you don't have to worry about seeing that and understanding that, I don't see the point of it myself.
Well, it also comes down to, I think most guys can add 2 to 3 points to their SMV for less than $1,000 in less than a week.
Oh, dude, I could probably have a guy do it for 300. Actually, 400. We'll add some nice shoes onto that.
Yeah, I was thinking of at least two or three outfits, good haircut, good beard structure, if they have beards.
Mm-hmm.
Usually getting them some kind of styling products and the ability to actually style their hair so they don't sit around on a Saturday morning in a Magnum PI shirt with their hair looking like shit.
I think we can't be friends anymore. I actually don't like you now. Pistols at dawn, good sir. They still did duels back when Schoppenheimer was around, wasn't he? Oh, yeah, I got a bit of a cowlick thing going on. I don't know what that is, man. Today it's been fucked up, and it just won't go down.
Yeah,
I think it's because I got the hots for you.
Yeah, probably. It's got the hot so bad it's melting your gel.
Gel? Oh, dude, pomade. I'm 100% metrosexual. When you look into my thing, the wife always loves poking fun whenever I'm out there with groups. And I'm like getting a little too charismatic. She goes, this guy's got a hair straightener, right? As if that'll like shoot it down, but then we have a good laugh over that. I'll tell the girls to exfoliate and we'll have a good time.
Well, that was one of the things with Donovan that I noticed when I was a fan of this show and just watching it, that Donovan always has his hair and beard game on point.
Does he have hair? I gotta look at his photo. I thought he had it shaved.
Yeah, usually pretty damn cropped.
Oh yeah, look at that. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm like, what does Donovan do with his hair? Is it shaved, or has he got like a little bit of a crew? Or it's funny. After like a year, you think I'd have that stuff on the top of my head. Just how little I pay attention to other guys.
Well, to be fair, I don't know what Rolo's hair looks like either. I think he just his top of his head is just a beanie.
That's where the tumor is for his cancer. No. But no, it's fine. He's the same way. He just does. It looks like a straight #1 buzz front to back.
No, but I use pomade too. I switched from gel to pomade about a year ago. It was recommended from my barber, and it's water activated. So if my hair gets messy during work, I can just I usually keep a comb with me at all times. So I can just go into the bathroom and straighten the hair out.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, same. Comb. Even at work, I'd have a fucking. Now you got me all self-conscious, you fucking asshole. Comb, toothbrush, and toothpaste, like all that stuff, I would have it at work.
Yeah, usually I like having some kind of cleaning product too. Like if you spill something, like if you're wearing especially in summer, when I usually wear a lot of like khakis or tan or white pants and stuff, and if you're going to a big meeting, you're always spilling coffee on those right before the meeting, and you need to figure out some way to get that fixed.
Oh yeah, Tide pens are the greatest invention ever. I love them.
Tide pens? What are those?
A Tide pen? It's just it's a pen with something in it that just cleans things. Just Tide, like the detergent. You've seen them. There's no way you haven't.
Yeah, I've probably seen them. I just have no idea what. I haven't heard the name for them.
Yeah, it's just a detergent felt marker, and Tide was the only one that people. It's like how Kleenex, how it's like the name brand became the name of the thing.
Oh, it's those. Fair enough.
Yeah. Although a lot of it was military too. Like I always have like a boot polishing kit in my desk too whenever I'm at work or wherever I'm at. And it's just something we picked up from the Navy. A lot of the time the guys will be sitting there during a lull time at work and they would just start polishing shoes.
Yeah, well, it's kind of. I was doing that last night because my date ended up flaking on me, and I wasn't in the mood to. I was kind of tired after work anyway, so I was just sitting in my living room drinking scotch and polishing boots.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the stuff that finally made it through the duty. How much was your scotch collection? You said it was like $2,000 or something like that.
No, almost 10.
Jeez, I can only imagine how that's got. And that's. I'm assuming that's a lot of bottles. Not just some 1875 bottle in there with a bunch of Jack Daniels.
Well, it's not a lot of bottles, but there are a lot of higher end rare stuff in there, like from distilleries that have closed down and stuff like that.
Oh, fair enough. So I gotta ask then. So for the super expensive stuff, at that point, is there like that much of a distinct taste, or is a lot of it just having like with my art on the wall, where there's a story behind it and it's got that sentimentalness to it, or?
It's a bit of both. Like some of them have really, like Lefroy, when they get really, really well aged, become absolutely amazing whiskeys. The 10-year-old is kind of very harsh, but once you get those really well aged, that peatiness is kind of smoothed out and has a really nice, nice flavor to it. But others are more, it's the fact that the distillery closed down. There's a story with the bottle. It's a rare series. Like I bought some Johnny Walkers that were only available to buy in duty free at airports for a limited time.
Oh, is that the gold label, or what did they call it?
No, that was it was 4 or 5. It was inspired by the travels. So you have the Spice Road, and then you have the Silk Routes and everything like that. So I bought those. And then there were some classic 21-year-olds like from Lagavulin. I have their 21-year-old. I have a Talisker 21-year-old, an Open 21-year-old, and a few bottles like that. And those are just available all the time, so they're not overly bad or pricey. And then you have some more, like I have an Ardbeg from 1967.
Oh, damn.
And the reason I have that is just it was a gift. And I have a whiskey from the year I was born.
Oh, so that'd be 19XX. A fine vintage year.
1920. I turn 100 next year. Still running game.
Oh boy. Yeah, I gotta admit, I gotta try it. I was getting into the Irish whiskeys there, but I only ever tend to have one bottle, maybe two in the house, but mostly the sipping stuff. So I've never really gotten into the point where I collect, and I really should. It seems like it's a nice fun hobby.
Well, I would have a much bigger collection if I'd figured out the idea of having a drinking whiskey in the house along with a sipping whiskey. Because it's very easy to get into a sipping whiskey and you end up sipping the whole fucking bottle in a night.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice. Well, yeah, I've done
that. You kind of get pissed in the morning when you wake up and you see, oh shit, I drank an entire $500 bottle of scotch last night.
So you always got to have a bottle of red or black label sitting around?
Yeah, I always keep a bottle of black. That's why I have in my decanter. I have a decanter with that I have my drinking whiskey in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always Johnny Walker Black. And then I usually keep a small bottle of red in the house just to mix with. And that's what I was doing before the show today. I was, Donovan, the difference between a sipping whiskey and a drinking whiskey is that a sipping whiskey is expensive as fuck. And you might have one drink from it every year. And then you have drinking whiskey, which is basically what you drink when you want to get drunk. If you're going to sit down and have like 7 drinks in a night, you go ahead and you have your Johnny Walker Black label.
Yeah, and the only third category I'd add is a mixing whiskey, because even the drinking whiskeys, I kind of like the taste of them drink by themselves, but you always got to have that one cheap one that you want to make your Manhattans or cold. What the hell are they called? I can't even think of a whiskey drink right now. Simple something. Yeah, whiskey sours. Because I would never want to do, especially, and that's the thing, I'd never want to do that with like something that I'd have as a drinking whiskey, which would be kind of peaty. Like ILAs are the worst. I can't mix them with anything.
No, I tried mixing a whiskey sour once with like a Bullen, I think, and that tasted like shit.
Mm-hmm. I tried doing a cider mix with it, and that tasted like wood, like I was eating a tree.
Yeah, I even took the time to make really good sour mix from fresh fruit and everything.
Oh, look
Still tastes like shit.
Yeah, we'll have to get those gastro guys to find out what pairs well with peat.
I don't know. Never tried.
Yeah, I think I'm about done. Then Iron Stoic on what's a good tequila to mix with. I mean, they're all good for mixing. Just stay away from that like El Jimador and Jose, because those are the really cheap ones that give you headaches, I find. Anything with the stag on the cover.
Get anything with 100% agave.
Mm-hmm. And then Anejo, which is the aged. And then, fuck, it's been so long. How did it work? Anejo was aged. Reposado was like old aged, but without any of the sugars in that. I think it's Reposado you want without the headaches. Fuck, I got to get back into this stuff. I haven't drank in so long. Like, I barely drink. That's why I like whiskey now, because you can have a glass of it.
I don't drink tequila anymore. I go nuts.
Oh, you're one of those?
Yeah, I can't handle my tequila at all. I haven't had tequila since like 2003.
See, that's the one thing I got that's really good, is that I can chug back tequila and not really have an effect from it. For me, it's just like, it has like a chocolate taste to me. I just love it.
No, to me, if I drink tequila, I go nuts. But it could have something to do with I usually only had tequila. It was tequila shots.
Mm. Oh, so you're like those girls that don't drink vodka anymore because it turns out vodka and sugar is really bad, and you get sick off it 5 or 6 times, and you think you're alcohol intolerant.
Well, the reason for me is that I just go nuts whenever I have tequila for some reason. Like, different alcohols have different effects.
Mm-hmm.
Like, drink vodka, that's a perfect drink if you're an alcoholic because it doesn't smell anything, and you don't get bad hangovers from good vodka. And then you have something like, if you drink beer, you're going to be a little bloated, but you're usually not going to wake up really, really thirsty because you're not dehydrated.
Yeah.
Then you have red wine where you get the headache from the tannins, especially with the French ones. And you also tend to become more mellow and sleepy when you drink it. That's why you never serve a girl red wine on a date. Then you have white wine, which is one of my one of my drinks of choice for dates. So I always keep 2 bottles of chilled white wine in my fridge, just for because then once you've had a couple of glasses of wine with a girl out at a place, you can be like, well, I have a good bottle of white wine back in my place that we just have to try.
I like that. What do you go with? I always stick with the Chardonnay just because of the oak and barrel thing. I call it Scotch for wine.
Yeah, I usually keep a bottle of Chardonnay and something like a Sauvignon Blanc.
Ooh, fancy. Wait, what's this one? Oh yeah, so guys are in here. Pimp juice, same thing. I had to stop beer after college. It felt like dad bod creeping. It's the same thing. I get the same thing as you, where it's like I can't get drunk off of beer. I'll get full off of beer first, and then just like bloatedly full.
No, I can get drunk as fuck off beer. That's not the problem. With beer, you get that, especially if you're into craft beers. Mm-hmm. And it's not because, you get a ton of estrogen from the hops. Stop being paranoid. It's more the fact that it's big in volume, and a lot of the craft beer hasn't had time to age enough. So what happens is you get some yeast residue, and if you've eaten something that the yeast can ferment, you can get a fermentation going in your stomach. So you get extremely gassy off it.
Oh. And does that go away, or is that the kind of thing that you kind of have to go on a fast to get it out of your system?
Like, no, it goes away after a couple of days.
Oh. See, I didn't know that. That makes sense, though.
So you'll notice that if you drink a lot of craft beer and you're on keto, so you don't eat a lot of fermentable stuff, you don't get nearly as badly bloated.
So that's the problem then, is when you're eating that with a lot of potato chips and whatever else they have at the pub.
Yeah, that's a major difference, because they actually tested that with a study, girls versus guys, who gains the most weight when they drink. And guys gain more weight, not because we drink beer so much, but when the girls go out to have wine, they drink wine. When we go out to have some beer with the buddies, the wings come out, the nachos come out, you might order a pizza or burgers or some kind of food with it. Where you're sitting there eating fucking chips all night.
That's interesting. I might have to try that then, go on a fast and then just have a couple beer. Actually, you know what? That's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, you get drunk real fast.
Yeah. 30 minutes in, I'm passed out on the floor. I can't even puke because there's nothing in me.
But I like beer, but I tend to lean more towards hard liquor and mixed drink, because you can get a lot of good tonic waters that are sugar-free.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're only getting the calories from the alcohol. So that's kind of my approach to it. If you stick with, and I also tend to go towards the whiter wines like the Rieslings and Mosel wines, because they're really nice if you chill them down.
I can see that.
Ciders, but I hear a lot of girls like them.
It's because it's sweeter. My another one of the guys I sailed with, his wife Dana, she used to drink Rieslings all the time. Although she was a functioning alcoholic, because she actually had it like she'd fill her glass with ice and then pour the Riesling into it. So for her, it was just like pop. Yeah, she's one of those kind of functioning alcoholics. Like I got a few of those ones. Another girl I sailed with, she did red wine, but she hated the taste, so she'd mix it with Coke. And there were so many times you'd see her passed out at the bottom of the stairs, right by the mess or something like that, and the girls would have to like haul her into her room so the coxswain didn't charge her. Like, I'm amazed. Yeah, girls are drinkers, man. I got stories. Our baby doctor, she used to use IVs on herself all the time because she would get drunk, and then she would just use her IV as like a hangover cure whenever she was in the clinic. She only had to work 2 hours a day for sick clinic when we were deployed, and then she couldn't even handle that because she was too busy being hungover. Remember once she got drunk and she tried diving into a lazy river in, I want to say Oman, and she ended up scarring her face all up because it was just a lazy river. It's only 3 feet deep. So she had what looked like these camel markings on her, like how they brand camels in the Middle East. Fuck, we made fun of her for that one for months. Yeah, girls are the alcoholics now. Guys don't even have it anymore. That's the point of the story.
Yeah, well, I noticed that with girls all the time, that the girls drink a lot more now. Like, they used to be kind of more careful with it, but now it's just full bore.
So I wonder, I don't know why that is too. Is that, because I can't say it's girls entering the workforce, because, I mean, their moms were in the workforce. They were the ones that were pioneering this stuff, so they've been there. I just can't figure out why.
I think it's just more of the whole thing with, you see guys are becoming more feminine, like using pomade and shit. Mm-hmm. And the girls are becoming more masculine with drinking and tobacco use.
Oh, Girls are gonna start smoking cigars and pipes and take that from me too. Those cocksuckers.
Well, I like girls who smoke pipe.
I did not see that coming.
No, neither do they. That's why they choke on it.
Well, hey, David, Ryan did not find another shirt. I've had this shirt for years. This is my Magnum PI. It's my lucky shirt. This shirt's been to more countries than you, so show some respect.
Yeah, Ryan, why don't you tell the guys where you got that shirt, and I'll just go grab another drink.
Oh yeah, I was in Siemens in Montreal. The one thing I will say about Montreal that was nice is clothes, because the French have this such weird language laws that most big brands don't go there, so they have to make their own. So they actually have their own, and that's where I got this shirt, the bicycle shirt, the whale shorts, everything you guys see that Carl makes fun of. It's usually because I bought those ones in Quebec. And then, so I'm going to go through the chats here then. 80 proof on up only. It's not a bad theory. Problem with beer is the photoestrogens and hops. Oh, that's what Carl was talking about. Beer lowers your T. Yeah, you know what, Mohit? Beer doesn't lower your T. It's that guys that don't work out lower their own T, and they just happen to drink beer. It's something, and you see this all the time. I can't remember where that came from. I even want to say Vice, which has embarrassed me that I'm referencing Vice in a positive way, but where they were talking about a lot of those stories, like how chocolate made you thinner, beer gives you tea, and then it's just such, the studies are so hacked to pieces that the effect is so minimal that it's really like a non-starter. Ooh, I like that sound. And your thoughts on high-end clothes? I feel it's needy fit. So here's the thing with high-end clothes. You don't need high-end clothes. Personally, I absolutely hate any type of designer name on it. All I can think of when a guy has a designer logo on his shirt is that guy who bought a brand new suit, but he still has the suit tag on his sleeve there. And he wears that, so that way you know he's wearing a Calvin Klein suit, and you're like, dude, you're supposed to cut that off. I find, yeah, as long as it fits, that's what matters the most. And you can get away with some of the cheapest shit as long as it fits well.
Well, I'm kind of mixed on it because I like buying expensive shoes.
Shoes, yeah, because shoes are different though.
But with clothes, I buy most of my pants. I buy the cheapest ones I can find with a good fit. Mm-hmm. Because usually people don't pay attention to what brand jeans you're wearing. They'll see how it fits.
Yeah, pretty much. The logos will be kind of weird. Nobody knows fabrics.
Probably go with slightly higher quality ones if you wear them for work daily. I would buy slightly higher quality because there's a reason why if it's like a cheap suit or whatever, clung to him like a cheap suit became an old adage. And shirts I'm kind of in the middle of because you can get some really nice shirts in the like $80 to $100 range, which are not that high end.
Yeah. Thing with suits though I don't like is you can get too high. Like I know once you start seeing those super 120s and above, I had one and I never liked it because it wore out so fast, and the way it was stitched, it always tried to warp around the things. So I tended to like buying like a less of a thread count for my suits, which I consider to be higher quality because they tend to they wear better over the long term and they don't pill or rip apart as easy. Although maybe that's why you buy super 120s, to show that you can buy a new suit every 3 weeks without having to worry about it.
Now, what I do with my suits is I usually buy Suit Supply. I hear is very good. I'm probably going to go with them next. Mm-hmm. They have this outfit where you go in and then you buy off the rack, but they have tailors in-house that do all the adjustments to it, so it fits perfectly.
Ooh, that's nice.
And it's really they're pretty cheap for that service. And yeah, I was going. If a guy's wearing a Tom Ford suit, or if they're wearing a Hugo Boss suit that costs a quarter of the price, you're not going to see much of a difference in wear, as long as it fits right.
Yeah, see, I go that same way where you get the guys coming in, they set up their hotel for the week, and you walk in, and they fit you there, and then they usually send it off to get made either in Montreal or Hong Kong. Those I tend to like, but that's only because I prefer having my own things. Like if all mine, I have the same paisley patterns I have in my tattoo on the inside of all my suits. And I always go with a nice high contrast color. And then the fit's there. I find it's just best when it's made. But yeah, it's basically the same thing. The only difference is I have guys making them abroad and sending them back to me.
But having them made, the suits are, if there's ever a thing you want to have made to measure, it's suits.
Oh, 100%.
I would go with shirts as well if you lift a lot, because when you lift quite a bit, and you're going to get that problem where they're either baggy around the midsection when they fit around the chest, or they're going to be really tight. Yeah, you're going to have them. You're not going to be able to close them across the chest when they fit across your midsection.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And at the very least, you get a good enough tailor. Like, you don't even have to, you can still get off the rack. You buy the fat ones. It's called darting. If you guys don't know, my mom was a seamstress, so I actually know how to do it. And it's like, it makes a huge difference if you can dart a set of shirts properly. I mean, if you get custom, that's even better, but you can always work around that. And I find that's a very American thing, by the way, where they don't tailor their shirts at all. Like it's a normal thing to have it sitting off you like a tent. I never could figure out why. Do they just not have tailors down there?
I don't know, but I made the mistake. I had to emergency buy a suit at Walmart once.
What the fuck? I don't think you get to talk about my shirts anymore. I didn't even know they had suits. That's awesome.
Yeah, they do. They have their own brand of suits.
All right, let's hear this. Let's hear it.
Anyway, the biggest problem with them is the suits are made to measure for the average Walmart customer. Because like normally you'll have somewhat of a taper on the suit jacket where it's broader shoulders and then narrows towards the waist. Not Walmart suits, they're the other way around. And then the Walmart pants, they're so wide that you'd think they were made for a guy who's like 450 pounds. Because even in my size, I could wrap the leg of those pants around my thigh twice.
Oh, jeez. What in the hell? I've never actually seen a suit at Walmart. I'm actually curious now. Next time I go to the States, I think I'm going to check this out. Because I know exactly what you're talking about. I can see it.
Because it was really a simple story, because I was traveling for work and I was only going to be gone for one day. So I only packed one suit. Mm-hmm. It was a light gray suit because it was sometime in the summer or late summer. Anyway, and I was in the taxi coming from the airport going to my hotel. And I had an early meeting the next morning, and the cab driver hits a speed bump going a bit too fast, and I had a cup of coffee in my hand. So I ended up throwing coffee all over my suit jacket.
Oh.
And I had no clue so I had to hand that in to the cleaners, but the cleaners couldn't fix that until the next morning. And that left me a little short on time, and I figured I'll just buy a cheap-ass suit that I can wear tomorrow. And I did, but I didn't really get it fitted, so I just bought one that was my size. But Walmart is worse with vanity sizing than Old Navy.
So did you actually wear the thing then, or?
No, I had to go out the next morning and buy a new suit wearing the raggedy Walmart one.
I need this suit. It's so shitty. I needed to buy the other suit with, because I can't wear the one on now. That's one of the funniest first world problem stories I've ever heard.
No, I actually told the people at the store where I bought the other suit, just throw that one away. But it was I think the whole suit was like $100.
I don't know, I'm just picturing you looking like that dude from the Talking Heads. Do you remember that band?
No, I looked like the suit looked on me like about like Rolo's suit.
Oh,
like the one he has.
I remember that one at one of his events.
Yeah, that's what this looked like. It was much wider in every direction.
Steve Harvey suits for the win.
I was walking down the street and I got some wind in my direction, and it looked like I was sailing.
Oh boy, I don't know how they do it there, man. And it's so weird because in North America, like Montreal is right close to New York's, and that's where all Canadian, like all suits from North America are made. So like they could easily get good stuff. They just don't. And I'll never figure it out.
Well, I think it just comes down to the fact that everyone's getting so fucking fat and I don't know, but Americans get fat in a different way than everyone else.
I'd say.
The pattern of fatness is different.
Well, yeah, it's in weird spots. Like there's fat people here, obviously, and they kind of wear their fat in, like you'd say, typical places. You have a huge gut, giant ass, and like flabby arms. But you're right, in the States where they'll have weird things like underarms, like under your armpits are where all the fat accumulates. Or
Yeah, or back tits.
oh, can't handle that stuff. I don't know how they get that far. Like at some point, what does the dignity or self-respect not kick in? It's like those guys that are married to girls that don't have sex with them, that treat them like garbage. And at no point do they have this thing like, you know what, at some point I have to have the self-respect to just, I'd rather nuke this all than live like this. But they just don't. They just quietly.
Why, Dependent became a thing.
Oh, that's 100% military, man.
Yeah.
Everybody loves calling the military all this alpha thing, but I think it's like a beta male breeding system. Like these guys become super codependent, and they always love deferring to an authority, so they'll make the wife the authority at home. They even give wives rank now. Like if you're a colonel in the army in the States, your wife is technically a colonel in the army, so she can walk around barking shit like an officer. It's the weirdest thing.
How does that work?
I have no idea, but I just hear a bunch of people like rolling their eyes at it. But I guess, yeah, if a wife wants to give you shit, she gets her husband's rank on that one. And I guess they have to take it seriously. I really wish there's an American in the chat here so they could explain this one to me. Because like where we have it now, usually the wives here, if any sailor in the Canadian military is worth his salt, his wife knows absolutely nothing about the military. Like that's just vetting 101. If she knows your rank, you don't want to date her.
She knows exactly what pay scale you have. She has a reference in her purse, like, so what rank are you? Oh, I'm a first officer. And she looks up, oh, man, that's only, when are you getting a rank? I can't date a guy unless he makes more than that.
Yeah, can I see your last 3 PERs? You're like, what the hell? But you do joke about that. The fake boob girl, I love how all my stories tie together, by the way. So fake boob girl, the one I was talking about before, her mom was an officer clerk. So she did all the financial records and that stuff. The way she landed her second husband was she was looking through all the officers' pay scales, and she saw this one guy between his pay and his investments and all his other information there. He was like doing really well for himself. And then so she just latched onto him and caught him like a predator and just ended up marrying his ass. And then whenever the daughter would date people, me included with this, by the way, she would always go and she'd check like pay docs to make sure we don't have anything stupid on our docs, like a giant debt or something like that. It's the weirdest thing.
Sounds useful, though.
Super useful, not very ethical, and you probably shouldn't have told me.
No, but I think that's kind of one of the major issues, because a lot of the public sector areas where you really want good information security, there's a lot of women working there, and women love gossip.
Oh, God, yeah. You don't even have to get them drunk.
Like, I'm not going to go and look up how much my neighbor makes or, try and pull his health records or something if I was working as a medical clerk. But the girl who works as a medical clerk is pulling the medical records of, some chick she's having a fight with to see, is her husband suffering from erectile dysfunction? Does she have anything wrong with her?
Oh, yeah. Well, the NSA, there was a bunch of guys getting caught with that. They were using NSA resources, or was it CIA? I'm pretty sure it was NSA resources to do spying on like ex-boyfriends and stuff like that.
And I'm not surprised. I mean, that would be really. I know a lot of the guys used to pull nudes off people's phones and off people's cloud accounts.
So that's how Cernovich got caught. Now it makes sense.
Well, that's what happened with. You remember the Fappening?
Oh, of course.
The massive leak of the celebrity nudes, and that's what they did, because all of those girls had their phones backed up to the Apple Cloud, and the Apple Cloud was surprisingly easy to crack at that point.
I can see that, because most companies, I've seen this too, when they're getting started, it's just a hodgepodge of duct tape in the back end. They never really do much for security. They pretty much won't until something gets hacked, and then they'll patch up that specific spot and ignore everything else around the perimeter.
I just think it comes down to a point where they don't have good enough information security, and they have a lot of nosy bitches hired. And at that point, it's only a matter of time before information leaks. And there's also that whole trade-off between security and user-friendliness, because if you want to make something secure, it's not going to be very user-friendly. At that point,
at the same time, they always go the complete other direction.
And just leave everything open, yeah.
But it's the same as you said, like not being unattractive and just getting those some of the basic stuff out of the way, like even having a network map. I've been to companies that didn't have a network map, and they tried telling me that I was going to be part of the information security department. I'm like, well, why don't we have this? Because nobody wants us to have it. We have no way of knowing. Like they didn't even know what their assets were to guard. Like at that point, that's not even a user-friendly security spectrum. That's just basic professional.
Yeah, probably no IDSs or any form of monitoring or any kind of software solution is probably poorly configured, if configured, firewall.
Oh, they had a SIM, but here's the beauty of this: a SIM, if you got whatever, they had a SIM, but it didn't have any agents that it connected to. So it was just like a SIM installed on a box and sitting there.
Jesus.
Yeah, hey, no alerts. That's awesome.
Well, it does explain why, suddenly you'll read this company had, 1 million user passwords leaked. Or, I think Facebook recently, there was a thing where they had 1 million passwords unencrypted in clear text, just stored in a file somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then LinkedIn, their 100 million ones, they didn't even know about it for 6 years. That's the worst part. They're so bad, they don't even know when they're hacked, so there's no leak to disclose.
Well, I think that goes back to, what we were talking about earlier when we were discussing, just handling the basics. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people they don't even know how bad they are.
And it doesn't
take if, let's say we took a guy who's a complete trainer, let's just say he doesn't have any major long-term problem. He's not 400 pounds. So first thing we have to run off him 220 pounds and get him down. But let's say you have to take your average guy, let's say
it's 20 pound extra.
Yeah, maybe 10, 20 pounds extra or something, just a little bit dresses like shit, doesn't handle his grooming, etc. And we pulled, what was the, you remember the show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy?
No, what is that? Yeah, I know it.
Oh, yeah, so, you seem like the kind of guy that got inspired by it.
That was always the keys to the VIP, man. Don't even.
But anyway, the thing about it is, you saw how much they could do with a guy just by, fixing up his place, getting him some new, well-fitting, good-looking clothes, straightening out his hair, teaching him basic grooming shit, like don't shave against the fucking hair.
Yeah.
And things like that. And just a lot of guys don't even have those basics down.
Which makes sense why my cooking show was starting to take off there, because I was just showing how to poach an egg. But you're right, just basic stuff.
How to cook an omelet. Things that every guy should know.
I remember even you gave me crap because I wasn't using a whisk. I'm like, yeah, but no, not everybody has a whisk. Everybody has a fucking fork.
Yeah, well, I actually had that discussion with someone at one point because I was over there for dinner party and I was helping them make dessert. I'm like, where's the whisk? And I'm like, what's a whisk? Fuck.
So where you get fancy, grab the 2 forks and put them together like chopsticks and use those together?
Yeah, you can do that, but it's very hard to... it works for an omelet because you're basically just trying to mix stuff together. It doesn't work when you're trying to get good air into it. Like if you're making scrambled eggs, getting a lot of air into them is like the key thing to make them fluffy.
The funny part, by the way, is I have a whisk. I just never use it. Unless, like you said, if I'm baking or something like that and I want to get air into something.
Yeah, and I also find it's better for sauces too. If you're making, especially if you're making something like hollandaise, where you have to do the emulsion, or if you're doing, I made a red wine vinaigrette a while back, where you're doing an emulsion between fat and an acid. The whisk is really good because you can get everything put together real well and get it bonded. If you're using a fork, you're going to have a hell of a time doing that.
See, we just have one of those cup adapters to our Ninja blender, so we always use that. But I can see the whisk working if you don't have one of those lying around. Yeah, but I mean, I use that to grind my coffee too, so.
Yeah, yes, David. Whisks are very aristocratic. Don't get me started on thermopens.
I think that's the issue where he says how aristocratic. I know David's kind of messing with us right now, but I can see a lot of guys thinking that the same as where fitted jeans, that must be gay. Where you can't giving a crap about anything in your life for some reason is means you want to suck a dick.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the same thing with guys and girls. It's like guys don't really want to do anything, and I think I tweeted out like yesterday that if I could sit in my house, play PlayStation, drink beer, eat pizza, and get fat, and still have girls coming over to blow me like 4 or 5 times a week, I totally would.
Of course you would. Those sad MGTOW bedrooms, they would have, if they were slaying it, they wouldn't change a thing. Actually, they still aren't changing anything, but they're not getting any. But I would do it. Buy that PewDiePie $300 chair, call it a day.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Because and the same thing with girls, though, they don't like making the effort. That's why you get this whole health at any size shit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the no-shame feminists and stuff.
I was thinking even simpler. You know those ones that always take those half-nude selfies, but their bedroom behind them is just a disaster zone?
Oh, geez. Yeah. I've actually seen girls who have that in their Tinder profile. Like, there's a half-naked of a hot chick, and you see that her bedroom is just a trash heap behind them. And, you know, guys get a lot of shit for having, you know, messy kitchens. But have you ever been into a single girl's bathroom?
Dude, I've lived with a girl, like a roommate girl. It was that. I didn't know what color the counters were for like 6 months.
Yeah, it's like everything. Like, I keep some stuff. Like, I have my soap bowl for shaving. I usually keep that out on top of the counter, and I keep contact lens stuff. But I don't keep anything else on the counter because I actually like having counter space.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, same. Do you? Now I remember you were saying you had a straight razor kit, didn't you?
Yeah.
Jeez, here I was thinking I was all hardcore with the safety razor kit.
Yeah, no, I started using it a while back because I kind of like the feeling after I came from the barber.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get a lot closer shave, and it's also with when you want to keep the lines. Like you remember when I was on camera with you guys earlier on the Redman group.
Yeah.
I have a very, very manicured beard.
I would say so.
Keeping the line straight with a regular razor or a safety razor, you just can't do as good of a job because of the way they cut.
So do you get one of those that's the classic blade you got to use the strop with, or do you just get the one that you put the single-sided razor blades into?
Oh, I have the old school style.
Oh, damn, I tried that once. I hacked the shit out of my face, and I haven't gone back. I clearly can't sharpen it well enough.
Well, it's just a matter of just need to get some practice with it, and it gets better. I cut myself occasionally now, too, but that's the reason why I shave in the evening instead of in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I shave in the morning, I'm usually not awake and alert enough to do that accurately. I actually had a guy in my DMs asking me if he should start straight razor shaving his head.
Oof.
And I ordered up because I can only use I don't trust my left hand with the straight razor, so I shave my entire face using my right hand. And there are still some angles that are kind of tricky to do. Like, especially on the left side of my neck, underneath the chin. That's kind of a tricky angle. But it's just practice, and you get a very good shave with it.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll probably still not switch back, but it is really cool that you actually do that. The safety razor I like, but I'm with you. I got a weird growth pattern, like where here it grows sideways, which really screws it up for me.
Yeah, I have the same problem on my neck. It grows in all directions. So I just have to go over it twice in 2 different directions, but it works.
Nice. But, geez. Yeah, so I realize we're running on half an hour too. Did you want to take a break, grab some breakfast before the Redman group starts up?
No, I actually ate breakfast before I came in. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're up 6 hours plus 7 hours, 8 hours. How many hours ahead of me are you?
It's
enough hours.
3:30 now.
Oh man. All right. Well, it's 10:30 here. I'll go a little bit, but then I'm going to stop quickly and just have a quick breakfast. I'll probably just have a protein shake.
No, usually I was going to have eggs last time before the show, but I got fucked up, so I kind of ended up with a Bloody Mary and an empty stomach. Well, the good thing is that a Bloody Mary, it's more or less like a ceviche with alcohol.
What's a ceviche?
No, gazpacho with alcohol.
There's enough gazpacho for everybody. It's like tomato soup, but ice cold. Go back to Russia. I love that. Was one of my favorite Simpsons episodes. I always joke about that because my wife's a vegan, but she's not a vegan because of the animals or anything like that. It's just her parents fed her like Mexican meat in the 80s, and she got so sick as a kid, she just stopped eating meat. But there was the big running gag that they gave for the longest time is after she watched that episode of The Simpsons where Lisa became a vegan, that's what got her onto veganism, and she gets so pissed every time we bring it up. But it is nice. Oh, you don't remember the Simpsons episode?
No, not that one. When Lisa became a vegan.
Oh yeah, it's old Simpsons. It's those first 6 seasons that were actually really good. I haven't watched them in the last 30 seasons it's on now. I haven't watched it since the 90s. So. All right.
Well, David, to be fair, yes, I gave a hint by saying what time it is, but I do have 2 continents in that time zone.
Oh yeah. I like how that's going to be the thing too. Like if you narrow it down to, oh, that's it. There's his coordinates. Like guys, I'll give you a hint. If Carl ends up slipping up and giving his position away, chances are he's just going to nuke the life and then start a new one a couple states away anyway, or a couple cities, or so it's not going to work. I'm not sure why they're so interested. I guess it's because that you give them so little, they always want more. Like I get the need to want to know more about you, but I kind of prefer it this way because I can just focus on what you're talking about.
Oh, that was the funny thing yesterday, I think, because what was the thing going back and forth? Because there was some kind of back and forth on that with, I tweeted out that the one thing that might make me go on and on at some point would just be for guys to see how utterly mundane I am.
Dude, that was my thing. That's what I loved. I'm average, and every metric you can use, I'm pretty much average. And I was able to slay it, so I'm like, perfect. If I can do it, there's no excuse for anybody else.
Hey guys, Ryan just gave away his dick size.
Dude, my stepdad was bad for that, by the way, penis envy. I remember this as a kid, and here's like one of my messed up childhood stories. I remember just sitting there trying to play Nintendo as like a 10-year-old kid, and he was in the other room, and it was having this weird argument with my mom about how he was like insecure about his dick or something like that. I can't remember where it was going, but I just remember it seemed so strange, and I never could figure out why guys are insecure about it. Like, do they not know that girls have no spatial logic whatsoever?
Yeah, that's the thing with girls. They're really bad with visual spatial stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not going to know the difference between 4 inches and 8 inches. They're going to know, does it hurt or does it not hurt? That's about it.
Well, it's like if you're 5'9" and you tell girls you're 6 feet. The only girls you're going to know are girls who are either 5'9" or taller.
5'9" or 6 foot. Even the 6'4" ones are like, yeah, probably. I don't know what happens on down there.
It's like if the girl is like 6'3", she's going to be like, well, yeah, maybe he is 6 feet.
Well, it's even dating. Like every time, and I know every guy who's had any amount of dates under his belt who actually talks with a girl after they break up, maybe as part of the same social circle or whatever. Girl will date a guy, his dick is huge, he's the greatest guy ever. They break up, all of a sudden his dick is tiny and he's not a real man. Like it doesn't even, like it's so obvious that they don't know or care. It's just of all the things to be self-conscious about, it's like the worst one.
You're still dating the girl. The good thing with that, if the girl calls you a small dick bastard and you're still dating her, just next time you're having sex, just start doing her from behind. And then lean forward and, whisper in her ear, well, you said it was tiny, so bite the pillow, I'm going in dry.
Any chance to get that dry line in there, huh?
Well, I tell you what. It up a bit.
Yeah, but here, if you don't mind, I'm going to grab some breakfast on this end. I haven't touched anything today. It's 10:30 here, so I'll catch you again in like half an hour on Redman Group, okay?
Yeah, I'll see you.
All right. Have fun, guys. Take care.